What's up guys, in this video I will explain to you what are the functions. Functions are something very simple and something that can make your code very clean. So yeah, in order to create a function, first we have to know that a function has three things. First, the body in which it has the code. Then it has the arguments, and then what it returns. It has a fourth thing, which is the name, but you have to know that you have the body in which you have the code, the arguments that it receives, and what it returns, and the name. So for example, let's create one function called print my number, for example. Print my number. And now let's add the body. As always, in order to add the body, you have to open these brackets and you have to put the code inside here. But before putting any code, let's say what is going to return. So functions can return value, but the thing is that values have a type. So for example, we could return a value of int type, or I don't know, char or anything. But we can also don't return anything. In that case, we put void. And this means that we are not going to return anything. But let's return, for example, a 1. Like, let's return a number in our function. So yeah, now we have declared a function which is going to return an integer and basically does nothing. So let's first declare the arguments that it's going to receive. So the argument that the function is going to receive is the number that we are going to set. So in order to set an argument, we have to tell C the type and set a name. So for example, let's say that I will receive an integer and the name, it will be number. So now we have a function which receives a number and returns a number. And now we have to do that this function prints the number. So if we put this, we are going to print the number that we receive. But in order to make this function more useful, let's print more things. So for example, if we do this, and in the last one we print 2 of these, let's say that here we put this +1 and +2. And now let's return the same number. Like, this function is very simple and we are basically doing anything, but I'm doing this just to make you understand what functions are. So let's say that we want to print the number +1, the number +2, and we want to print several numbers. If we do this in our code, we will have to repeat these instructions a lot of times, but if we call the function, it will be faster. So for example, if I now use the function I just created, print my number, and I put here an integer number, 24 for example, if I compile and then I execute, let me open this, and now I execute, you see, with just putting the number 24, we are printing 24, 24 plus 1, and 24 plus 2, which is 24, 25, and 26. But for example, let's say that we want to do this a lot of times. So yeah, now we have done this a lot of times, and if we do this, if we execute this, we are going to see that, yeah, we have a lot of things printed. But the thing is that the code isn't that long. Like, we just have this set of instructions here, and we are just calling the set of instructions. But as I said before, this function returns an integer. So for example, what I can do now is I can have a variable in which I will store the value that we receive. Remember that we are just returning the same number. So I will have to receive this number. So if now I say printf I received the number and we print the number that we received, we should have 24. So let's try this. I forgot to put this. Let's try this. Oh wow, I was wrong here. Let's execute, and if we go back to this line, we see that, hey, we sent 24 in the first place, and then after the double new line, we print I received the number, the one that we received. So yeah, now we know that the function returns a value. Another thing is that if you may have noticed that I put this on top of the main function. But for example, if I put this here under the main function and I try to compile, it's saying, hey, I don't know what this function is. So this is telling us that the compiler looks for the code in order. So it goes from the first line to the last line. And whenever it gets to this function and it checks this call, it says, hey, I don't know what this function is. So what we have to do is to create a prototype. In order to do that, we just have to do this. If we do this, we have created a prototype of the function. So basically, we are telling the compiler that, hey, look, this function is somewhere in the code. Here I'm not going to put the body, but it's somewhere in the code. So if you see this function, don't worry. We are saying that to the compiler. So now if I try to compile, oh, I was wrong again. There is no error. So if I try to execute, it is basically the same. So yeah, I think that's everything for functions. As you can see, it's very easy, very simple. And yeah, you just have to remember that this is a prototype, that a function has something that it returns. It has a name, arguments, and a body. And yeah, that's everything a function is. So I hope you understood the video, the functions and everything. I hope you liked it. And if so, like, subscribe, share, and see you in the next one. Don't forget to go and check my website in which I talk about trading and cryptocurrencies and all that stuff for a very cheap price.
Damn, Sosa. You going crazy.
Quédate tranquilo, si estoy bajando todo, lo siento, te quedas en nada.
Ay.